Let's move on then to Yemen. And earlier this week, UK forces participated in a joint operation with US forces against the so-called Houthi military target, a so-called Houthi military target in Yemen. The Ministry of Defence says that the action was in line with long-standing policy of the UK government following the Houthis initiating their campaign of attacks in November 2023, which the Ministry of Defence maintains threatens freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. And that brings us back to the issue with what Israel's just done. But anyway, careful intelligence analysis, according to the Ministry of Defence, has identified or did identify a cluster of buildings used by the Houthis to manufacture drones of the type used to attack ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. And this was located 15 miles south of Sana'a. And so the Royal Air Force Typhoons, with air refueling support from Voyager tankers, engaged a number of these buildings. This is their words, using Pavewave 4 precision-guided bombs. And this was only done, though, they say, once very careful planning had been completed to minimize risks to civilians or non-military infrastructure. And as a further precaution, this strike was conducted after dark, when they say the likelihood of any civilians being in the area was reduced further. Do you buy that?
Who knows?
Who knows? Well, look, we have to say that, well, I'm going to say that Mr. Healy was making a comment in the House of Commons saying that make no mistake, he said the Houthis act as an agent of instability across the region. That was his claim. They continue to receive backing from Iran, and get this, he couldn't leave Russia out, and even Russia has attempted to support the Houthi operations.
Attempted to support.
Attempted, yes.
Oof, that's dangerous.
So he said that the aggression in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden is yet another example of how our adversaries are increasingly working together against our interests. This against the interests of the British government, of course.
So it justifies killing civilians, even if we're taking all measures to, reduce the risk of civilian casualties. But even if you kill one, what's the justification for that? That the Yemenis violated your interests?
Yes.
But they haven't actually attacked anything in your country? None of your people, not even your military assets that are flying by, thumbing their noses at the Yemenis.
Right.
None of that. So there's no expeditionary element to the Ansar Allah, aka the Houthis. There's nothing.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's just threats, and no mention of why the Yemenis are interdicting Israeli ships.
Right.
Why are they Can we get any mention of that from any of the politicians?
No.
Was that verboten? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Apparently not.
Okay.
But anyway, this is from your YouTube or your Twitter feed. This is allegedly the aftermath of what happened.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think this is from an earlier airstrike. I'm not sure, but anyway, the context that the journalists that we follow in Yemen are basically saying that this targeting is just basically ad hoc, that their intelligence isn't really very much to speak of, and its civilians are being killed in Yemen, and the Yemenis continue to strike back at U.S. military, and that's the amazing part. Because the strikes against U.S. aircraft, the number of downed U.S. drones, combat drones, and lost aircraft continues to mount. And this is the poorest country in the world, Yemen.
Right.
How's this happening?
Good
Interesting.
Question. But it's not going altogether perfectly for the United States in the area, is it?
Not even close. Not even close. So bring this up on screen here, and we're not picking the Guardian for any particular reason. We thought it had a better photograph, but other mainstream media outlets are reporting on this right now. A fighter jet rolled off the aircraft carrier. I believe this is the USS Harry Truman, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Harry S. Truman, and to swerve to avoid a Houthi missile. Can you believe this? So initially they made up a fake story and put it out. The government, U.S. government, the Pete Hegseth put out a fake, or the media put out a fake story that somehow this was just a routine sort of accident. No, it wasn't. Now we find out U.S. sailors had to leap for their lives after an F/A-18 fighter, the Super Hornet, fell off the Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier, reportedly making, quote, evasive maneuvers to avoid a Houthi missile in the Red Sea on Monday. And it goes on. And then the jet, along with the vessel towing it, rolled right out of the hangar and into the Red Sea, said a U.S. Navy spokesperson here. So what's going on there? And obviously this is a nightmare for Trump's embattled defense secretary. There he is, Pete Hegseth, the crusader himself. And let's look at what so Pete Hegseth's follow-up to this disaster on Monday is this: a message to Iran. We see your lethal support for the Houthis. We know exactly what you're doing. You know very well what the U.S. military is capable of, and you were warned. You will pay the consequence at the time of our place and choosing. So again, the U.S. has picked this fight with the Yemenis, and Pete Hegseth is, saber rattling while he's bombing them. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. So I think Pete Hegseth is probably going to get fired pretty soon, because this is very irrational behavior. Plus the Signalgate scandal. Plus this guy isn't even qualified to head the U.S. military. He was a Fox News weekend host who was flogging ghostwriter books just a few months ago, and suddenly he's the head of $1.2 trillion Pentagon. Pretty amazing. But that's life in reality TV, Mike.
Yes, indeed it is. Mark, let's come back to you then. Sorry for the problems. And